Good evening. The news summary. The Chief Executive Officer of the Seychelles Citizens Engagement Platform, CEPS, has said next week they will be in a better position to give their reaction on the economic reform program being that was announced by the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. This after they met with officials from the Ministry of Finance who have invited them for a presentation on the reforms. And after they have consulted with their different members, Mr. Alvin Lawrence made this declaration when giving the CEP's initial reaction on the economic program that the country is undertaking together with the IMF.
The civil society has learned about the economic reform in the same manner as other individuals. And yesterday we've been contacted by the Ministry of Finance to meet up with them so that they can better explain the economic reform and also to see how best we can help as well to get people engaged. We are more than willing to do so, and we will insist on the consultation and participation of the individuals because we believe that a successful economic reform will depend very much on that. And we will want to see a thriving environment for civil society so that civil society can do their fair share as requested by the government, so that we can do our fair share in helping addressing the so many issues in the society that the government themselves, they've admitted they won't be able to deal with all. So if this reform is going to bring along a thriving environment, an enabling environment for civil society, then we will be able to see progress, although we acknowledge and we know it's going to be a tough reform for all of us.
And the press conference given by the Minister for Finance, the Central Bank and the IMF on the macroeconomic program is being aired on SVC 3 as from 7 p.m. It will also be broadcast on Radio Sicile as from 8 p.m. tonight. The Assembly has approved a bill on the revision and modernization of fines for criminal offences. The Minister responsible for Internal Affairs, Errol Fonseca, who was in the National Assembly yesterday, said that some of the fines in the law were introduced since 1975 and are no longer relevant. The Office of the Attorney General has for some time now been working on the revision of some regulations which have been in existence for a long time. As example, there are some offences which have fines of only 100 rupees. He said that 100 rupees in 1975 was acceptable, but the situation has now changed, and 100 rupees does not prevent people from repeating the same offence multiple times. Miss Seychelles 2020, Miss Kelly Mary Annette, has met with members of the National Assembly's Women's Caucus to gather more support for her foundation, Maylands Hope. The foundation was her project throughout the Miss Seychelles competition and is aimed at helping the semi-orphans. The caucus chair, Regina Esparon, says that they will be backing Kelly Mary's project and will do their utmost as parliamentarians to support the foundation. The committee in charge of activities celebrating 250 years of the Saint-Anne establishment has launched a commemorative book recounting the history of Seychelles over the last 250 years. President Wavell Ramkalawan was presented with a copy of the book during the launching ceremony this morning at State House.
It was the chairman of the committee in charge of activities celebrating 250 years of the first Saint-Anne establishment, Shirin Francis, who presented a copy of the history book to President Wavell Ramkalawan. The book, entitled A History of Seychelles from its origins to the present day, have been written by 9 authors, wrapped up in Ambassador Alexandra Azais's artwork, and produced by a team from the ex-tourism board.
This book is an episodic account of our nation's history that spans in its prehistory, 3,500 years before settlement, to the outcome of last year's election. Our new history book fills in gaps in our history and contains never-before-seen documents, maps, and records that have been beautifully reproduced to accompany the text.
The book has been 2.5 years in the making under the leadership of Editor-in-Chief Glyn Burridge.
The book launch is the source of much pride and no small measure of relief as we officially put the seal on 2.5 years of hard work to produce a history book to commemorate 250 years since settlement. I am sure you all join me in my hope that this new history book will open the eyes of the Seychellois public and visitors alike to the wonders of our history and to how our tiny nation has prospered in the face of mighty challenges. Long may that continue to be the case.
For now, there are only 250 copies being sold at the tourism office, costing 2,000 rupees each. Mrs. Francis said that the book will be sold in bookshops later during the year.
SPTC says buses on Sundays are running according to the special public holiday schedule since July the 1st because of the impact of COVID-19 on its staff. The last bus on the special public holiday schedule is at 5 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. compared to the rest of the week. However, the SPTC says they are making buses available on the 6 main routes around the island up till 6:30 in the evening.
It is 5:30 p.m. and bus drivers are getting ready for their last trips. Since the pandemic, the public are aware that the last bus leaves at 6 p.m. from the terminal. Hence, they make sure they are early on the terminal. But because of a lack of human resources caused by COVID-19, SPTC has had to reduce the number of buses on Sundays to make more available during the week. But even then, they have to reshuffle the bus schedule and routes to adapt to the availability of drivers.
Because of resource constraints, we have lessened the service that we provide to members of the public, but we are ensuring that they are not affected as a whole. For example, on Sundays, after 5 p.m., we operate our next services as from between 6 and 6:30, and these services operate on the main corridors mostly, for example, on routes like Glace-Beauvalon, Bélôme, Glace-Saint-Étoile, Polonais, Belazar.
To have a more effective service, SPTC is working on a new bus schedule, are constantly interviewing potential drivers, and are also in the process of acquiring new buses. In the meantime, they are asking the public to bear with them as they face their challenges.
Most organizations are facing challenges in terms of human resources due to COVID-19, and SPTC is not an exception. Despite the challenges, we are doing our very best to ensure that they receive an acceptable level of service. And I would urge the public to please bear with us, understand that we also face challenges, but despite the challenges, we'll do our best to provide them with a level of service that is acceptable.
People are also encouraged to become familiar with the latest bus schedule to avoid waiting too long at bus stops or even miss their bus.
President Wavel Ramkalawan has sent a message of condolence to the outgoing Prime Minister of Haiti, Claude Joseph, and to the Haitian people following the assassination of the Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. In his message, President Ramkalawan says he learned with great emotion and deep sadness about the tragic death of the Haitian President. The President has, on behalf of the government, people of Seychelles, and on his behalf, extended sincere condolences to the government and people of Haiti. The Seychellois head of state adds that our thoughts and prayers go out to the Haitian people and to the family of Mr. Moïse, more particularly to the First Lady, Martine Moïse, who was injured in the attack, to whom he wished a speedy recovery. And with this, we end this news summary. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant evening.